We are delighted you joined us today at this second edition of the Eastern Africa Bioeconomy Conference.
And as you probably know by now, the theme that we are working with is building a sustainable and resilient African economy.
ISIPE through BioInnovate will continue supporting efforts aimed at building sustainable African bioeconomy, enabling scientists to translate biologically based solutions and inventions into practice.
We need to promote, communicate bioeconomy as one of the key factors to make life better, and also to answer to challenges of environment.
There is a challenge out in the society as well. It's a challenge in the economy to really take up, to channel these scientific discoveries, the innovations, the entrepreneurship into the market, and thereby also create the jobs that we are talking about.
Connecting these smallholders to market, value chain, and agro-processing opportunities is increasingly seen as one of the most important tools in elevating agricultural productivity and improving rural livelihoods. Supporting initiatives that effectively link public research organizations, universities, and market actors will improve the chances of East African farmers, agribusinesses, and agro-processors benefiting from the rapidly advancing field of bioscience.
Which sector would you say is the most important sector for bioeconomy development or transformation, and why would you say that?
It's very difficult to pick out just one, in the sense that there are a variety of sectors which have different motivators, different drivers, and different outcomes and impacts. And here in South Africa, we are exploiting indigenous knowledge. We are harnessing it for the benefit of the people.
Africa has a lot of biodiversity. We need a regional approach, and the regional approach should fit into the national approach. Yes.
I have seen how the bioeconomy can contribute to several of the aspects that you just mentioned. And of course, the original idea of this was really on how we can substitute fossil fuel products with bio-based products that help to develop different types of value chains.
The statistics again, 35% of agricultural produce go to waste. How can we leverage that? How do we mitigate and use the waste in a proper way in terms of biofuel and other energy saving mechanisms?
They've completed a feasibility study together with our Ministry of Mines to actually implement a 40 megawatt power plant in the northern part of Namibia. This power plant will consume close to about 250,000 tons of bush biomass. And it will definitely create quite a large gap of, in terms of jobs, about 664 jobs, directly and indirectly, when we consider the entire value chain process.
The past 1 or 2 weeks, we've been hearing about COP26, and there was that element of technology being one of the most prominent mitigation tool that has been identified, and I think the youth can actually follow up on that and try to come up with solutions.
Demand creation should be made by both enterprises, NGOs, and governments to enhance consumer awareness, influence their buying behaviors, and shape their consumption habits towards bio-based products.
At ISIPE, where I serve as head of technology transfer unit, we have several models that could actually serve as examples. For instance, the use of insect as food and feed, the development of biopesticide, the use of natural resources such as entomopathogenic fungi to develop biopesticide.
As the nation in the region, they are fully based on agriculture. That will give us an opportunity to extract maximum out of the biomass and bioproduct we have in the region.
Bioeconomy research is an opportunity for us to generate transformative change under biotechnology, bioecology, and bioresources.
It has the chance to say, what do we need? What have we got? You've got so many environments. You can actually look at so many different ways to join things up differently.
We need to put some frameworks and be able to share what we have for the benefit of the African continent and be able even to export.
The bioeconomy makes Africans look inward. Bioeconomy makes the researchers want to discover what we have always had indigenously, culturally. The bioeconomy wants to make us be proud of what we have. And this conference is coming in the middle of the corona, which actually has made everyone look inward.
We are talking about bioeconomy right here, right now in our generation. That's a huge opportunity.
So we need to structure out how we can be able to sustainably use the technology that is at our disposal efficiently and using it well with holding the responsibility of whatever you are creating. You have to hold the responsibility that it goes back to you.
I feel like most East African countries have a vision to be food secure by maybe 2030, some 2040, but how are we going to get there?
Indeed, unlocking the value of indigenous crops coupled with the changing consumer demands presents opportunities for Africa to sustainably capitalize on Africa's biodiversity.
You have innovated and your product is ready for commercialization, but how do you find patent registration for your innovation products?
We have trainings for businesses so that they can know the issues like patents, and we are now saying, let's partner.
There's also a need for more financing to be in place and a better enabling environment to support a lot of young people in playing their part within the development of this bioeconomy that we are working towards.
We look forward to strengthening our cooperation in the months and the years ahead, particularly in the biologically based technology, which is a promising investment area for job creation, climate change mitigation and adaptation, and subsequent outcomes in Africa. This sounds finally as a golden opportunity offered to young entrepreneurs to create our own bio-based solutions.
I want you to give us a snippet into what are the core services that you feel a bioincubator should provide or be able to provide to nurture and support the entrepreneurs who have these bioinnovations for them to go to the market.
Every entrepreneur or someone who has something they want to bring into the market will tell you what they specifically need is financing. But for anyone to give you financing, there are certain things that they have to look at in order to give you that financing. Now that is where most of the innovators possibly may need support. How do you justify an investment into your idea? The first thing any financier is going to look at is the quality of the person that is asking for this financing. Have you thought long-term on the growth of this idea and what kind of support that you may need? Do you clearly know it on what you need to grow, or how are you going to grow what you're doing?
To start with, I think if you look at Africa, you have this fantastic bioresource base, which is the foundation for the bioeconomy. But the key thing here, I think, is that far too little value addition is done. There's too much of that primary resource not being part of any value chain or any processing. So I think there, incubation and the bioeconomy, this is really the nutshell of the bioeconomy to me for East Africa, that the whole value addition process, both to waste, to primary resource, to residues, etc., etc.
Interesting, but we really need to do our homework. We need to have both experience and knowledge to understand an idea, to recognize it in the first place, but also to believe in it.
We have heard a lot about how to build a sustainable and resilient African bioeconomy. And one thing that has come out very clearly is that we should do this in the African context, using the resources that we have locally, but also leveraging from the tools that we can develop and also access globally.
I actually agree with Fortunate. It's quite promising, and I'm optimistic about what the future holds. What this conference has taught us is that if we work together, holistically integrating all approaches and all stakeholders' opinions, ideas, we can actually achieve more.
Where we're also embarking on a 10-year strategic program on bioeconomy. So asking how I see Eastern Africa bioeconomy in 10 years, I have to say, I'm very confident that you will play a very strong, a very leading role in the region, but also globally. And I say that because in the past 2 days, we have clearly seen how a strong bioeconomy strategy and the entire process behind it has really brought different actors and stakeholders together in the region over the past years. Actors from the ministries, from different ministries, food and agriculture, research and innovation, environment, health. I think this is really instrumental. Joining forces with scientists and academia, joining forces with the industry and the private sector and civil society. And I think together, working in the regions.
Has become a front runner here with the first ever regional bioeconomy strategy in the making. And this is not something you see in many places of the world. And the stories we've seen here over the last 2 days, the examples, it really shows leadership. I have to point that out. Because Eastern Africa will never be the world leader in automotive industry or in IT like Silicon Valley, for example. But this is a place where Eastern Africa, based on its resources, can actually be a world leader. And in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals, I think what's moving this here is also the recognition that this is really a triple whammy for sustainable development. If we simplify it in terms of the 3 pillars, environmental, social, economic, we see that the bioeconomy development, it is environmentally sustainable because it takes us away from fossil fuel dependency and into valuing biodiversity and ecosystems in a new way.
So we look at incentivizing the bio products in the ESC partner states. I mean, in terms of taxes, in terms of moving your product from one country to another without any cost, and also supporting the innovators, especially the young innovators, into giving them patents and doing capacity building in terms of entrepreneurship skills for them to design, package and sell their product. That's the way I look at it, to do something different for...
Just to add on to what we have learned for the past 2 days, there's been a lot of innovations and a lot of developments, and a lot of products and a lot of startup companies have been developed. But how do we move those companies to the next level where they are profitable, where they are really viable? And I'm thinking there's really need for more and more working together, more partnerships, and also realizing the power of what everyone brings onto the table. The other thing that I'd like to mention is harnessing the power of knowledge, indigenous knowledge. sometimes when we fail to realize the power of biotechnology, the power of the innovations that we bring, because we're not embracing the local knowledge of the communities that we want to transform, and then we lose that transformative power of the science that we have. So if we can actually, as we are moving along, move along with the indigenous people, with the communities that we are targeting, so that we can grow and then tap the market more and also grow our businesses.
Yeah. But it's also that ambition to promote greater self-reliance by way of our industrialization, our sixth development strategy, our EAC development strategy, and how people-centeredness depends on, indeed, prosperity. On an equal basis, it has that profound impact by way of ensuring that it creates the proportional regulation between social development, economic development, and environmental conservation. And having learnt all this today and having listened to the statistics behind it, then indeed it's obvious that such initiatives and such opportunities have to be highly prioritized in the overall development and implementation capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, with this in mind, then what it really does call for, as the second Bioeconomy Conference is concerned, is the ability to realize how serious this value proposition is to the overall development of the region and the potential it has in our role in global affairs and development. And with that in mind, then indeed what needs to happen, of course, is such forums and such initiatives have to yield decisions. And earlier on, we heard about the importance of partnerships and co-creation. What's clear is that indeed there are a lot of institutions in existence today and associations. Within the context of national institutions, you have associations which link the private sector to government. In the case of Kenya, we have the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. In the case of the region, we have federations like the East African Federation on Agriculture, or the East African Federation on Manufacturing, or the newly established East African Federation on Transportation. But what clearly needs to happen, and indeed these institutions and frameworks exist for that reason, in order for private sector to dialogue, to advocate, and to co-create progressive policies, legislations, and regulations that facilitate the business environment. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, there would be a lot more potential to see to it that we keep making progress, as you've done on the second Bioeconomy Conference. But going into the future and hopefully into the next year, we would see a new horizon by way of the amplification of what your solidarity and your networking today espouses, and the ability to lift that very important field into the future. I thank you very much, and I would like to close this conference. Thank you.